On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we give you what we're watching for OU-Tulsa, and we preview the matchup with Jeremie Poplin. We preview the best games of Week 3 in college football, and we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, September 13th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of September, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Now recording this Wednesday morning, please leave us a 5-star review and a nice comment. Ted, I love a road game that's just a drive down the highway.
Isn't it awesome? It's great. It's it's a road-ish game. It's almost like how Arkansas has the home field down in Fort Smith also, that they play at every now and then. Feels kind of like that.
It does. It does. I'm definitely interested to see what the crowd looks like from a color perspective, right? I would anticipate quite a bit of crimson.
Yeah, I think so. It's always been like that, hasn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, at least 80%. But if you're a Tulsa fan and there's a game that you're going to this year, it's probably this one.
There's no doubt about it. All right, we got a lot to get to, so let's start here. Ted, you had Venable's coach's show on Monday night. Anything that he said that really stood out to you?
He was right out of the gate. He was, and you talked about it on the Sunday pod with the offensive line. He was, for the most part, pretty complimentary of the football team, except for the offensive line. And, he did say that he felt like, and I don't know if this is, you typically don't just get coach speak from Venables, but he said that those guys were pissed off about it. They took it to heart, and he kind of likes the way that he feels like they've responded so far to not having a very good performance. So that is really what stood out to me.
Okay. Well, I try to tell people on here, I just call it how I see it.
Right.
Group as a whole did not play well together. Now we'll see how they respond against Tulsa. All right, let's get to what we're watching for in this matchup. Ted, looking at OU's defense against Tulsa's offense, what do you have your eye on?
Well, I actually like Tulsa's offense quite a bit. It's a throwback Kevin Wilson offense. It's not overly complicated. I can't wait to I want to get your opinion on the offensive line, but just generally speaking, just some of the stuff you're going to see in the run game, inside zone, split zone, a little bit of zone read, and that'll probably depend on who's playing quarterback. They'll do some of that. Their biggest bread and butter, though, is the counter play. They'll pull the guard and the tight end who's off the ball in a little, slot or wing position.
Also pull the center and the tight end. How about that?
If he's uncovered, they'll pull the center, and I'm sure that's a call there with the front that they give, right?
Yeah, well, the way is if you've got a wide 3 on the backside, right, instead of the center going all the way back and blocking back on the wide 3, you just pull him and have him be the first puller on counter. He's the kick out guy in man on the line of scrimmage. Pretty simple.
A little quicker. Yeah. Yeah. And, I think their running game, they do a good job with it. Against Washington, they had some opportunities there. They were able to chew up some yards. Now, they weren't breaking long runs or anything, but like in the box, they were able to create some levels, chew up some yards in the zone game. There was a couple times in the counter game where they kind of got to the perimeter, whenever you had the edge guy wrong arming it, and they would find a little bit of crease there. Sometimes, if Presley was in, he'd just hit the gas and try and outrun the contained player and get around to the outside. So you've got to watch that with him. But, I like it. Now, the problem for Tulsa is that it's so like vanilla and straightforward. And I think Oklahoma's going to be like just chomping at the bit against it. But I mean, I think it's going to be fun to watch it. In the passing game, you don't get a whole lot. You get a bunch of, pretty standard concepts, 3-by-1. They will run some boot out of 3-by-1 with the tight end in that little offset position off of the split zone look or the inside zone look. And you'll get the typical routes off of that. You'll get the comeback on the outside. They'll run like the over route behind it from the slot receiver. And then you'll get the drag on the backside whenever they're running the boot out of a spread formation. You'll get some double post out of them, which is pretty typical out of 3-by-1. And they like to run the China concept, and they'll get to it out of a bunch of different looks. They'll do it out of 2-by-2, where the outside guy runs the little stop route and the inside guy runs the 7 over the top of it. Whenever you get cover 2, try and put those guys in some conflict. And you'll also get it out of the offset back on the backside of 3-by-1. Offset back will swing, and he'll be the flat guy. And then, the number 1 receiver will release inside and then run the 7 again, trying to create that conflict again out there on the outside. You'll get the old mesh route, 98 with the unders and the dig in behind, which almost everyone in college football runs. That's an old Mike Leach special. Lincoln runs the heck out of it. Just everyone except for us, we don't run it anymore, which is kind of odd. But you'll get that. You'll get and you'll get it out of 2-by-2, and you'll get it out of 3-by-1 as well. And splits will pretty much tell you what's going to happen on that with the wide receivers. You'll get the Indy, I call it Indy, the double square in where the guys go 5-7 yards, and then it's like a hard square in. And you'll get it on the back side of that. On the other side, you'll just get like a hard square out and then a takeoff on the outside guy. You'll out of 2-by-2, you'll still get the 98. They'll run some sprint pass, with that tight end. He'll be in that little, it's a slot. It's not a wing, but most people call it a wing. He's outside the tackle and off the ball like a yard. And you can tell by his split if they're running counter or if he's protecting or if he's running zone. Like if he's off the ball more, he's coming across the formation. If he's up tight, he's blocking right there. They'll max protect with him in that spot, but they'll also, he'll block the edge and they'll run sprint to him, but they'll also run sprint away. So you get some of the sprint pass with the common routes on that, kind of the levels. You'll get the underneath and then the guy in behind, and sometimes it's a comeback with the guy in behind on the sprint pass. You'll get empty. They'll run, some basic stuff out of empty. You'll get, like the tunnel screen to the 2 receiver side. And then on the 3 receiver side, they'll run the bubble to try and get some guys from the middle of the formation to expand out. Couple of snaps of Max Pro against Washington, kept the tight end and then offset in, and you're getting the 3 wide receiver routes out there.
Did you, on some of the Max Pro snaps, did you see what the edge guy from Washington did to the tight end?
Just ran right through him.
Don't do it, people. Don't have tight ends, pass block, edge players one-on-one. Don't do it.
Well, they had on one of them, they had the tight end and the back blocking him, and neither one of them got him. It was and he looked like practice dummies. But you'll get out of whenever they go Max Pro, they'll run like, because it's only 3 guys getting out, they'll run the double post to try and buy the middle safety, and then like the takeoff, like the inside angle takeoff, to be able to throw it deep in the middle of the field and try and let him run under it. You'll run like in this slot. They'll just have, I call it get open, where he's just up the field 10, 12, 14 yards and then working away from leverage. And it's just trying to throw and catch there. That's pretty much what you're going to get. As far as personnel, curious to see what we get at quarterback. If we get the Braxton kid, he's more athletic. You'll probably see some more move the pocket stuff, a little bit of zone read, quarterback run stuff. If you get the Fuller kid, who I thought was actually okay against Washington, Williams was the quarterback that played, and they had stuff in the passing game. He just couldn't find it. When they ran the mesh 98, it was open pretty much every time. He just couldn't. He never ID'd it. Couldn't. I don't know if he was just worried about the rush and the vision was bad, but Fuller's a little bit better throwing the ball for them if you see him, number 10. I think the backs they're adequate, but they're undersized. So they're smaller guys. And whenever you combine smaller guys with what their run game is, it's not a great mix. I think you'd prefer, especially you're going to run counter, that gap scheme stuff. You'd like to have a bigger running back to try and run through some of that stuff and some of the zone stuff as well. But what they've got is what they got. Braylon Presley, 5, he'll be in there, and they'll move him around the formation. He'll play in the slot. He'll play out of the backfield. Watkins, 23 is probably the bigger back that they have. He's just like a 205-pounder, so still small. Tight ends, you're not going to get much. They're just mainly blockers. 47 is typically the guy they have in that's going to move across the formation. Wide receiver, haven't seen anyone really that worries you right now. Leads me to believe that Venables is probably going to be ultra aggressive and let his defensive backs cover some and really dial up the pressure on the interior. But offensive line, I'd like to get your thoughts. I think they're obviously, for the caliber of player that they have, and this isn't a dig at them. I think it's actually a compliment because it's way more difficult than maybe it should be, but they block the right guys. I feel like they're on the right guys every time, and you don't have like free runners into the backfield, with a bunch of tackles for loss and stuff like that. Now, they're going to get beat, and they got beat quite a bit by Washington guys, but I think it's going to be difficult now. Depending on what Venables throws at them, you may have guys like messing up left and right, but I feel like they do a pretty good job of getting on the right guys. They do some pretty good stuff on the inside run, but that's pretty much what I saw at Tulsa's offense.
Yeah, O-line wise, out of all the guys, 57, the left tackle, I think is the best player, right? Moves the best, has good athleticism, not a ton of size, right? I think Venables is going to attack the right side of their line, right? If he's going to dial it up, I think right guard, right tackle, especially right tackle, right? Daryl Simpson, a name that a lot of OU fans know. I think he just does not change direction well. If you're going to attack a portion of that offensive line with blitz concepts or twists, that's where I'd do it. Just because I do not think that right side redirects particularly well. Like make those guys move, pass off twists, adjust to blitzes. If you're going to attack them, I think that's where you do it.
Yeah. No, I think you're probably right. I'm curious to see how Venables plays it though. Defensively, we should be able to control this game playing just base stuff, but I don't know if he wants to throw some things out there to have some Big 12 teams chasing ghosts a little bit, or if he still feels like there's some exotic stuff that they need to work on to get it really tuned up. Personally, I think they need work in their 3-man rush stuff up front. I thought the 3-man rush stuff was good, but when you're dropping 8 guys in zone, we've got to be better. There is no way you can justify a guy being wide ass open whenever you drop 8 players in zone coverage. Now, if they're going to throw something underneath on a get open, like timing stuff, you may hit that. But my God, we've got to be able to relate to guys way better in the 3-man rush stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you. And we'll see what it looks like, right? Probably more Peyton Bowen in this game. Heard Venables at the presser talk about Harrington still being banged up, right? We pointed out on the broadcast that guy was not moving well, especially in the second quarter. Wasn't moving great in the second half. I'm shocked. SMU's coaching staff, how you don't see that from the box and attack that guy, it's coaching malpractice. It's insane. It's insanity, especially in the second quarter. I'll never understand it. But
I was worried he was going to get hurt. Like, I mean, I know he was hurt, but he was so hobbled that he was so tentative around the pile and stuff, like trying to avoid. I was like, either flip it on, get past it, or get out. You know,
they didn't even throw a bubble at him, like to say, "Hey, go get off a block and make a tackle." Like, didn't test it. It's insane. It's insane. But that's last week. So you've got Harrington banged up, McCullough still banged up. So it seems like more Peyton Bowen right at that cheetah spot.
I hope McCullough can go. Venable said he's hopeful. Now, I don't know.
Why push it for Tulsa, though, is my question.
Yeah. You know, he was dressed out, not taped or anything. It wasn't going through anything, but he was out there in pads and he was walking around okay. I don't know. I would say the only reason is he needs work. And
right.
If he's able to go and you can get him a full game of playing cheetah, that would go a long ways for him. But, you know, if he's not up, Peyton Bowen and Reggie Pearson.
Yeah. We'll see. Right. I'm the ultimate, hey, if you're healthy enough to play, you play guy. So we'll see. But I think they'll be smart with it. Right. Yeah. Well, but you got anything else? OU's defense, Tulsa's offense?
I don't think so. I think that for me, that pretty much covers it. Again, very straightforward offense from Kevin Wilson. I mean, they don't do a whole lot of things, which leads me to believe that Oklahoma defensively should have a really good game.
I'm with you. All right, let's talk about what we're watching for OU's offense and Tulsa's defense. So first thing, it's not a typical road game, but it's still a road game, right? So just handling the mechanics of the operation on the road, right? Handing all of that, right? And that starts with, and I know they don't have to get on a flight for this game, but getting on the bus, making the trip, like everything that goes with that. You got to handle all of that. But interested to see what the crowd noise is like, right? Maybe Tulsa fans show out in a big way. Right? And you are dealing with a little crowd noise, and you have to handle that as an offensive line, as an entire offense. We'll see. This is kind of a unique road experience that OU's going on. But looking at the defense, 4-2-5 defense from Tulsa, they have a little bit out of, kind of a 3-man front look, an odd front look, which leads me to my first thing to watch. Find number 0. Ben Kapinski, you're going to mostly find him at an edge spot, right? I think he's their best player on defense, but they do float him around sometimes in a 3-man front. Ted, you and I would call this a spinner look, right? And it reminds me, do you remember how Jim Knowles used Brock Martin that year? They were really good on defense at Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Was that 2 years ago? You remember how they'd float him in the middle of the defense?
Yep.
It's exactly what they're doing with Kapinski. So whether you are, an offensive guard, an offensive tackle, or running back, like, you got to be able to find 0. He's a down lineman, and he needs to be treated accordingly in every run concept you have and in every pass protection concept you have. Like, that guy is a down guy. You don't need to be leaving the running back one-on-one with 0. If they do that, that's bad scheme. That's bad ball.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, is find 0. And then he's, coming off the edge, he's got good hands, good explosiveness, plays with violence. So Ostrowski, 48, you better put your hard hat on. That dude is going to headbutt you straight in the face. And he looks strong as hell.
He is, man. It's so funny. He's stiff a little bit, but my goodness, is he strong.
He looks like he can deadlift a house when you're watching
I'm
him on
sure he
tape.
can. I'm
Yeah.
sure he can. He's definitely got the DNA, that's for sure.
Yeah. His dad, right? Dad's the Tulsa Hall of Famer, right?
Mhm.
NFL guy, bad dude. It runs in the veins. Now, he's not quite the athlete his dad was, but both of those guys on the edge, like they use their hands well. They're really physical. And so whether you're running it or throwing it, like you better be ready to bring it with 48-0, right? It's going to be a weird matchup for the tackles, right? Rouse and Guyton, looked apart these big guys, and then you've got these two guys that are just like, hey, you want to get in a fight? Like
You telling
that's
me that Blake Smith needs to wear that little extra helmet thing, the concussion sleeve
the
on top of
Guardian
the helmet?
cap.
Yeah,
It would be wise when he's lined up over 48.
dude, he's gonna be running that split zone, buddy. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so those edge guys, and yeah, they can play a little bit. I've not been overly impressed with anyone on the interior. I think the guy that flashes the most to me is 99. But there's a couple snaps where you're just like, damn, he is bullying that guy straight back into the quarterback. So if there's one guy to watch in the interior, I think it's 99 from a coverage standpoint. Teddy, how do you like yourself some deep cover three, my friend?
Hey, my opinion is if you are a good defense, you can play cover three to anything.
Okay. Well, that's what they do. Now, to their credit, they try to disguise by showing too high and they rotate the three. Now, the thing, and this is something you've talked about quite a bit with OU's defense, their underneath zone coverage stinks. There is an incredible amount of space between their deep third players and their backers and the hook players. Like an insane amount of space. Dude, their deep third players, the old adage, like, hey, stay deeper than the deepest.
Yeah,
They take that very, very seriously, dude.
I like
I
that.
mean, insanely seriously. There should be, and I know what I'm about to say, OU fans. I know that how this is going to sound. There should be a ton of money made in the intermediate passing game and in the middle of the field. The voids are enormous. Enormous, especially with some of the RPO stuff that Levy likes to do. Like if those backers, if there's even more space, if they suck up even more on some of those run fakes, there's going to be so much space. Now, that's if they do what they've been doing, right? I figured if they did it against Washington, they're going to do it against Oklahoma. But we'll see. I will be shocked. And I know you want to establish the run after what happened last week, and you want to get the offensive line some confidence heading into the Cincinnati game, which, by the way, I've started watching them. Whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa.
they're going to be good.
Whoa.
That's going to be a
Did
game.
not see that coming. Whoa. Though we'll get to that next week, but whoa.
Yeah.
And I think I'd be shocked if they don't have a huge day throwing the football with just how much space there is between those deep third players and their underneath zone coverage. Dude, it's like borderline unbelievable how much space there is.
Well, I if you can't take advantage, if they're going to play it a lot, you got to be able to chew it up. You got to be able to run against it too, because you can drop back pass against cover three and have a lot of success. If their underneath guys aren't great, but if you can run the ball against it too, the play action stuff just totally kills cover three.
Yeah. And one thing, like a high level thing for Dylan Gabriel, I'm interested in seeing is, how can he manipulate that middle safety with his eyes?
Yeah.
Right. That's high level quarterback play. And that's kind of what I expect from him. Can he move that middle safety with his eyes and then hit some deep shots, right? Kind of in that backside seam, right? That's what I expect from him, right? That's the level of play I expect from him. We'll see if he gets those opportunities. But that's just something to keep an eye on. We could go through your favorite cover three beaters, but we don't have enough time.
Oh, there's all kinds of them, man. Four verticals, flat and slant, all kinds of creative wheel routes, double moves. Like we haven't seen any double moves on the outside, like a slant and go, or like you're working a comeback and go. We should have all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Now, one thing I'm saying, like, hey, you should be able to really, and I'm talking throws like 15, 20 yards down the field. There's so much space. There's so much space, but also their defensive backs on tape, they do not tackle well, man, especially number 11. I mean, there's a lot of missed tackles. And so we didn't see a
Probably has
ton
a
of
lot to do with all of the space underneath. I mean, that's difficult. It makes all those cleanup tackles really hard.
yeah. But I do think I would expect some bubbles, some of the quick throws on the outside, right? Make those defensive backs come up and make tackles in space on our wide receivers, right? And also kind of see if they can get off some blocks out there on the edge, right? Kind of going back to what we saw in the Arkansas State game. Just, hey, what are you made of here on the outside? I think we'll see. I'd be surprised if we didn't see quite a bit of that. And then one thing, and you this is a game, like you mentioned on defense, you want to put some stuff on tape, right? That makes Cincinnati and everyone from that point on start thinking a little bit. Washington scored on multiple reverses in that game. Tulsa, what's the best way to put it? Tulsa's defense doesn't have a ton of recovery speed.
Yeah.
So, and now to their credit, they play hard, man. They fly around, right? They play with really good effort, but there was a couple times where Washington just caught them really over pursuing. And one of the reverses, the guy literally walks in, and I do mean walks into the end zone at the very end. So I'm interested to see if we get some misdirection stuff like that from Oklahoma. Reverses, maybe a double reverse, something like that to see if they can get Tulsa over pursuing a little bit, but also just put it on tape moving forward.
If I'm an offensive coordinator and I see a team have success on reverses, first series, maybe the first play of the game, whenever they're all amped up to pursue, and they worked on reverse stuff all week, coached it, got yelled at about it. So you show them a reverse right out of the gate, and it's a pass, reverse pass.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. Yeah. You got anything? OU's offense, Tulsa's defense?
Again, this is going to be about Oklahoma. We should be able to have success, across the board. I'm looking for the offensive line to bounce back, and I'm curious to see what personnel we see. Wide receiver, running back.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what left guard looks like.
Yeah.
Like, does Troy ever get to start? Right. I think that's a big storyline going in. But as hard as I was on those guys last week, which they deserved, by the way, I expect them to bounce back in a big way, and they need confidence going into Cincinnati, man. I'm telling you, Dante Corleone and Juwan Briggs for the Bearcats, other than Sweat and Murphy for Texas, it's the best duo of interior defensive linemen they're going to play all season long.
Yeah.
And Corleone is like legit. Like, hey, we got to maybe have a column of what we're going to run in the run game when he's on the field versus when he's off the field. Like that legit.
Yeah.
So I would really like to see this offensive line play at a high level, right? Bounce back and get some positive momentum heading into next week where they're going on the road into an extremely hostile environment, right? And they're going to have to play against a couple NFL players.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what need to bounce back, need to play at a high level. I love hearing how pissed off they are about the way that they played. They should be. Tulsa's defensive front should not be able to dictate anything in this game.
Yeah.
So my hope is when we recap this thing on Sunday, I'm singing their praises, saying, hey, they did exactly what they should do against that defense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope that's the case. And I'm glad they got a couple of edge guys that are, a decent test, and SMU was too. They had a pretty good defensive line. So, Cincinnati's. Is that going to be, other than Texas, the most difficult game we play this year?
I'll tell you right now. I've watched every snap they played. Right, I'm no longer a player. I can look ahead to the next opponent.
Yeah,
Cincinnati can beat OU.
Yeah,
if they don't show up and play well, especially with how Nippert's going to be rocking for that game.
Oh yeah,
size across the board. They can beat OU. Like you're thinking like height, weight, size. Oh, they're coming from the group of five. They're, we're going to have a big physical advantage. No. They got size, speed. They got it everywhere.
Dual threat quarterback. Yeah. Well, we better get rolling in this Tulsa game.
Their outside linebacker body, right? They play a 4-man front, but it's an odd structure. Their outside linebacker body, 250. Corleone, 320. Briggs, 300.
They've had great outside edge guys at Cincinnati over the past like 5 or 6 years. Just great.
Wait till you see Pitts tight end try to pass pro this guy. You're going to love it. All right. Well, that's enough on Cincinnati. We're focused on Tulsa. Let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys the number one thing you'll be watching for in OU-Tulsa. This first one comes from Drew Gastineau. He says, offensive line play. Our offense goes as they go. Interior has got to pick it up. Drew, I think everyone that listens to this podcast understands that I agree with you, sir.
Yeah, we need it. I mean, it's frustrating. And I know SMU was solid there on the defensive line, but coming into this thing, we were hoping that the offensive line was going to be one of the stronger units on the entire team. And I still think they can be, but we got to get rolling quick.
Yeah. And I'm interested to see how Beatenbow rotates those guys on the interior, right? The tackles. I still think you start Savion, right? Because if you don't, you start worrying about, okay, like, how is he going to handle it? And not to say that he doesn't have good mental toughness or anything like that, but he's undoubtedly your more talented guy at left guard. Mm-hmm. And this is a game where he can build confidence. So it's a delicate balance, man. Now, Beatenbow doesn't care much about your feelings.
Right? I mean, you're going to need him.
That's the thing is, I'm thinking about Cincinnati. I'm thinking about Texas. I'll tell you right now, Troy Everett, if he's got to block Corleone, he's getting tossed around, man. Straight up. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. So you need Savion to build some confidence in this game, right? Get back on track and be ready to go for next week. Yeah. Now, if he gets out there and doesn't play well again, you got to do what you got to do, right? Yeah. I mean, and that's assuming he's having a good week of practice. He's doing everything that he needs to do to earn Bill's trust leading into this game. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%.
But, yeah. All right, this other one comes from Coffee Jedi. What a name. He's looking for mistake-free football. Really want a clean game after last week. That's number one. Also want to see any package with Jackson Arnold that doesn't involve a QB sneak.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I mean, that goes back to the personnel thing. What are we going to see from the younger guys getting in, the wideouts, the running backs, and also Jackson Arnold? Whether it's look, I'd like to see us get to a point in this game where he gets a lot of run in the second half, but also if they're bringing him in off the bench, which I don't know necessarily if it's worth it if you're just going to run quarterback power. I mean, it's got to be a decoy thing. It has to be. It has to be.
I'm all for getting him snaps, keeping him engaged, right? Keeping him happy, however you want to phrase it, even though he doesn't seem like that type of guy to me.
Right.
I would prefer you just let the guy play. Let him
Yep.
play quarterback. Maximize his strengths. I've said it. I said it on the last episode. I'll say it again. QB power, that ain't it for him. That's not his strength. No, he's not a small guy by any means, but he's not a big bruising guy. Like he's a 5-star dual threat quarterback, not a in between the tackles running back.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to put him on the field, let him play.
Agree.
Let him rip. Let it rip, baby. Come on.
Yep.
But hey, we'll see how it goes. Right. I love Venables was like, why would redshirt? What are you guys talking about? He's like, no way. It's our backup quarterback. Yeah. Okay. Birthday shout outs. Welcome to the world. Aspen Jordan Loftus.
Happy first birthday to Ophelia Gordon.
Happy 6th birthday to Colt Whitson.
Happy 90th birthday to Pat Hargis.
Look at you go, Pat. Nice. And happy birthday to Bobby Dooley. All right, let's talk to Jeremie Poplin, learn a little more about the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. But first, Love's Travel Stops is now offering a nationwide 10-cent per gallon discount on gas and auto diesel. Just download the Love's Connect app and scan your barcode at the prompt on screen and watch that price drop 10 cents per gallon. Across the country, the Love's Connect app unlocks exclusive deals can help any traveler plan their route or meal on the highway. So before you hit the road, be sure to download the Love's Connect app to save 10 cents per gallon and experience the country's best highway hospitality at Love's Travel Stops. Love's also has you covered if you forget your phone charger or headphones with their expanded mobile to-go zone. And of course, don't forget to grab yourself some of that delicious Java Hamore.
It's hunting time in Oklahoma. And if you're looking to buy some hunting property, the Land Doctors can help you find the ideal ranch. They build custom hunting lodges and lakes and can turn Oklahoma's raw land into your personal playground. If you'd like to sell some land or you simply want to add to your portfolio, then call Colton Cole at 405-615-7645 or visit landdoctors.com.
And celebrate with a Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works, named after the iconic Sooner schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score. You can join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU Athletics events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit SchoonerAle.com. You must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day. Ted, a lot of people sending us pictures of them drinking the Schooner All-American Ale. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
Nice.
All right, here is Jeremie Poplin. It is our pleasure to be joined by an institution when it comes to Tulsa sports radio. He's also the sideline guy for Tulsa football. Jeremie Poplin is in the house. Pop, what's going on, man?
What's up, fellas? I greatly appreciate the invite. Good to see you guys. Hope life is treating you well as we enter the madness that is the college football season.
Yeah, it's been wild. How's the Kevin Wilson experiment gone so far?
So it's one of those that I don't think I was talking with Gabe before we started recording, Ted. Until you're around it, I don't think you understand the level of intensity that comes with Kevin Wilson. So, and the difference is that the juxtaposition from the Philip Montgomery era to Kevin Wilson is, I mean, it's not even close. So it's an adjustment for even people that, like, I'm not there every single day, but it's adjustment for me. I can only imagine what it's been like for the players, but everyone seems to be buying in because that dude has a unique way of motivation. And I think so far everyone's done their best to kind of take in the type of motivation that he provides to everyone.
Yeah, rather familiar with the methodology of motivation from that man. And I'll say this, he's intense, but I've never seen a coach get more out of his players than him. Now, the way he goes about it, maybe some don't think that's the best way to do it, but the results are the results. Pop, what's kind of the overall feeling you get of how the players have received Wilson's way of doing things?
So I think the adjustment period was one that was shocking at first. He had a clear way that he wanted to come in and take over the program. And you can hear him even still to this day. And I don't know how many times I've heard him talk about toughness. So I think when he went in and kind of diagnosed what was going on, first things first, there was a level of toughness and discipline that he wanted to implement. And that was not toughness. I want to be careful how I phrase this. They were tough because some of their best teams over the last 5 years, they've been really good defensively in the American. A level of discipline, though, that I didn't think that he felt like that the program was meeting the standards that is required for them to be where he wants them to be. So he came in right away and established all of that. He also really put a lot of the onus on the players. So one of the first things he did was he picked out like 10 or 11 dudes and said, after he talked to people within the program and got suggestions about who can be my leaders, who can be these guys that the other players will look up to and respect, and named all of them like pod leaders. And then they had players underneath them and kind of encouraged more accountability inside the program rather than it just being one or two individuals on the team. So he really kind of put in a shared experience. And from what I have seen and from everyone I've talked to, like the players love that concept, made everyone accountable right off the bat. And that kind of got the ball rolling even before they got into fall camp. So he had a lot of work to do before practice even started.
It's tough. You know, you got to implement the culture that you want. And it sounds like he's off to a pretty good start there. And then it's roster. How was the roster turnover, the roster rebuild gone so far for him?
But they lost a couple of key players for them, 2 to Oklahoma State that were pretty important to what they were doing last year, Ted. Linebacker, defensive lineman. He had to hit the portal in some places. Of course, that's nothing new in today's age, I guess, unless you're Dabo. And I thought that he did pretty well with that, and was able to go in and take the Braylon Presley kid from Oklahoma State who was looking for a home and a few others, and plugged the areas that were necessary. They're still thin in a few spots, especially with what they want to do. I think at linebacker, they're really young and raw on the back end on the defense. Offensively, they've got a really good running back room, but this is Kevin calls it a developmental program, and you're going to see it. And I don't even know when you can take the level of developmental off for them, but like wide receiver wise, I feel like that's where the majority of their effort's going to have to be here in the near future. You can just look at some of the recruits that they're bringing in. I mean, they've got the highest recruiting ranking that they've had probably in a decade, but a lot of those guys are skill players, like at the receiver spot. I think they've got, for Tulsa, this is insane. I think they've got like 4 3-star kids already that are committed at wide receiver. Some big kids, and most of them kind of fit in that category of like 6'4", like 6'1" and over is what they're looking for. But you can tell here through early recruiting where he feels like that they're not quite there in terms of overall roster build and shape for what he wants to accomplish.
It's interesting. From experience, that guy can recruit. I think he's going to get some players into the program. All right, Pop, let's talk about this team, right? And let's preview this matchup. Let's start with the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
What's your expectation for who we're going to see on Saturday? Right, we've seen 3 guys up to this point. Who do you think?
Yeah.
Do we see multiple guys? Is it one guy? What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know if anyone knows, Gabe. I really don't. And Kevin is not the type to BS. He's been pretty upfront and honest with everything that he said. And you're dealing with your starter in Braylon Braxton, who's got an ankle injury and hasn't necessarily been able to practice that much. And you guys know how big Kevin is on practice. And with the way that they use his skill set, it's all about mobility with him anyway. So he just hasn't had a lot of practice time to be able to even test. They don't even get on the practice field until Tuesday afternoons anyway, with the way things are going with class schedule. So when we talked to Kevin yesterday, he didn't really know yet. and we'll find out what his mobility is like. And then Cardell, ends up spraining his on his throwing hand, his thumb. He took a big hit on his thumb and just couldn't grip it when we got to Washington. And then Roman Fuller, who's your third stringer, comes in and has played in both games by design, played in the first game and kind of was forced into playing on Saturday at Washington because of an injury, and came in and actually did some good things. I know the overall score doesn't reflect anything, but for a third string kid to come in and show the type of poise in the pocket that he did, not looked rattled at all, looked to have complete command of the offense. I think he did some good things. So to answer your question, I don't know if anyone really knows right now going forward about who the quarterback's going to be. They're all raw. Like your starter got a few starts last year. Cardell's a redshirt freshman, didn't have any seat time, and then Roman Fuller's had maybe a few mop-up duty moments. So in terms of overall experience, there's just not that much there, but they do seem to have at least a firm command of what Kevin wants to do.
In the backfield, I guess from what I've seen, it's been mainly Presley and Jackson back there. Is that what you expect moving forward with those two guys?
So they're trying to find out what the path forward for Presley is. I mean, they're lining him up in a variety of different places. You've seen a few moments of Presley in the backfield. It's mainly been a combination of Ford and Bill Jackson, and then the other one that's coming on as well is Watkins, Anthony Watkins. He wears 23. He's been a guy that 2 years ago was a pleasant surprise for them. Last year had some academic problems and did not play, has come back this year and has kind of had to start at the bottom and work his way back up. But he's been explosive every time that he's been on the field. But it's mainly been a combination of Ford and Bill Jackson, and they like those guys a lot. Kevin talks about them collectively as a group because there's not a lot of what they do. They're so different and dynamic in their own ways that it really kind of keeps people honest when they come in to see what they want to do in the running game. But Kevin likes them a lot, man, and I would expect it's going to be the majority of those three that you'll see on Saturday.
Yeah, I like Ford. Nice little quickness in between the tackles. Not the biggest guy in the world, can kind of hide a little bit. I like what I've seen from him leading up to this game. I think the big question, Pop, for this team offensively is, hey, can the O-line hold up in this football game? What have you seen from that group, and do you think they can hold up against OU's defensive line?
I think that they've done an okay job. They're as much of a developmental part as anything with the program right now. I thought that there were moments against Washington where I'm like, okay, all right, maybe we got something here. And through the early season of the process, how many times have you heard this line from Kevin Wilson, Gabe, which is, I don't think that you can grade an offensive line until the end of the season, right? To see how many times that the quarterback, see, you're already laughing. We heard that yesterday from him. So, you can imagine the level of high standard, even still being in the head coach's seat, that Kevin has, and some of the pressure that he puts on Ryan Stanchak, who's the offensive line coach. I feel like that they feel like they're okay. There's nothing I don't feel that's over the top flashy about any of them. I just think that they're trying to get them in a good rhythm right now in a pairing and finding what their best group is together. But so far, no complaints. You have had a few. Roman's not as mobile as what Cardell is, or even Braxton. So it kind of changes a bit there. You have had some guys that have been able to kind of get out of the pocket and move around a little bit, and they design the offense that way too. But yeah, they feel pretty good. Now, Washington did not do anything in terms of throwing things at them that you would call exotic. They didn't really blitz a whole lot. So I don't know, they haven't seen anything like Kanik and Stutzman, when those two go at all. So that'll be something for them to have to figure out in the early stages of this game. But yeah, Washington didn't do anything that was too exotic for them to try to figure out.
What do you expect overall game plan wise? Is this pull out all the stops you have against Oklahoma, throw the kitchen sink at them, or does he view this as, let's be realistic here, let's work on the things we need to work on, and this will be a measuring stick to see where we're at and some of our base concepts running against some better personnel?
Yeah, I think he's going to be not not measured, but I think it's basically like, this is who we are. We know the significance of this game in comparison to what we're going to do conference wise. They came out of Washington relatively healthy outside of the quarterback with his thumb, and they think he's going to be okay. So I don't think by any means it's going to be a kitchen sink type game for them. And he was big yesterday on, he is just appreciative of the opportunity for a school like Oklahoma to come here. And, you know, their schedule is littered over the next 10 years or so with Oklahoma State. Arkansas is actually coming here. And I get the sense, Ted, that he's generally happy that Oklahoma comes in and that you get an opportunity to go out and test yourself against some of the best talent in the country. And I think that's a level of where he wants this program to be right now, to find out how they're going to react in those moments. How do they look coming out of this game against a level of talent like they had and played against last week? So probably, I don't want to call it reserved. I just think Kevin's going to do what he does. And there were a couple times last week where, like, all right, he was showing signs of being a little aggressive. And as soon as I tell you this guy's this now he'll, you know, bust out a fake punt or something like that, or go for it in a crazy situation. But I think he's realistic about where they're at and where he wants them to be.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, you know, kind of what his mentality is with all of that coming into this one. All right, on the defensive side of the ball, when you look at the defense as a whole, Pop, what kind of stands out to you? What do you think is this defense's biggest strength up to this point in the season?
Up front, it's D-line. You can go on PFF right now, and I think they've got 3 guys that are rated inside the top 35 up front. That's clearly, to me, when I watch them, where their strength is at. Now, they have a little bit of an issue. Kopinski, who's the transfer from Oklahoma State, plays their jack position. In terms of depth behind him, you know, that's a question, and that's where I was going at earlier. There's spots on the roster that are just thin. So they're trying to find a good rotation, because that dude can't play that number of snaps, just going to get completely worn down. He's been good. He was really good in the opening week. They held their own against Washington. I felt like, and I don't know if you guys have had a chance to go back and watch any of that Washington game. Early on, Washington thought that they could bully them up front and try to run the football, and they couldn't. And once they found out that they couldn't, because that was a big talking point from Boise State, was, oh my God, these guys didn't even try to run the football. And my point is, I think when you got Penix and those weapons they got on the outside, I don't know how much of a run game is actually going to be a part of what they're trying to accomplish there. So they tried to establish it and they couldn't, and they went back right quickly to what they were doing against Boise State. So that's the strength. And then outside of that, I think everything else, there are 2 safeties, Kendaren Ray, Kenyon Williams. Kenyon's a transfer from Oklahoma State. 6th year guy for him. Kendaren's been there for years. So they're good up the middle on the back end with the safeties in terms of experience overall. Outside defensive backs, they're just really young, really young, trying to bring those guys up to speed. And linebacker is one of those spots that's a little bit thin as well. So you'll see there's things that they do up front that I think have been really impressive for year 1 so far.
You mentioned backer. What are some of the names you expect to see kind of work through there in this game?
Mitchell Culkin will be there for sure. You'll have Colton Smith, who's another one. He's a small school kid that transferred in, had 1 year of eligibility left. Someone had called Kevin Wilson, Ted, and said, hey, I think you need to take a look at this kid. And that's an area that they were desperately needing help with in the portal anyway. And when Kevin watched him, Kevin was like, I can't believe no one else has kind of been in on this kid, especially at schools like the American Conference level. But the adjustment for him has been one that they're trying to work with him to play football at this level. So Julian Simon's another guy that you're going to see that'll be running through there. And then it's kind of a mismatch. Dorian Hopkins is a young man that they really like. CJ Turner, another one. They run their nickel, so Jace Oliver is a kid that you'll help see, or that you'll see help in a few instances there. It's just trying to figure out what the proper amount of snaps is for at spots that are thin. So you'll see probably a wide range of variety of names that get thrown out there.
All right, Pop, last one. We'll let you get out of here, man. The environment, right?
Yeah.
Sell out. Now they're certainly, people are wondering like how much Crimson's going to be in the stadium. Like what kind of atmosphere are you expecting on Saturday?
Oh, dude, it'll be a ton of Crimson. And I don't think that shouldn't surprise anyone. I mean, this is the first sellout Tulsa's had since 2009. By the way, Sean Kingston's playing, so if you guys want to check out a little Sean Kingston concert there on the Chapman Commons, they call it, before the game,
Nice.
in the concert series that they have. Yeah, they're ponying up for some big acts to try to increase the environment. Yeah, there'll be a ton of Crimson there, and I honestly I think Tulsa administrators are fine with that. They understand where their lot in life is at when it comes to bringing in a brand like Oklahoma. And I just think it'll be awesome to have a full house there, no matter what color that they're wearing. And the thing about the University of Tulsa is that when you guys are on the road, like TU administrators kind of count on some of those OU fans that are here. If the game times are a little bit different, they're counting to be able to grab a hold of some of those OU fans, OSU fans, to come in and come back and just enjoy the experience that is, more college football there. They have to rely on that. And they've done a lot. Sorry, I don't think they've done much for the visitors' locker room, but they've done a lot in terms of increasing just the fan experience. They poured a ton of money into improvements, just the aesthetics of the stadium and the fan experience, like with the concerts and all the different landscaping elements that they've done. I mean, they've done a lot since OU fans have been back in the house the last time, which all these years run together. I can't remember exactly what year it was.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man.
You excited about Kevin Wilson? Quickly, are you excited about his tenure there?
Yeah, man. I am. I think it was. I like Philip. I think it was just time for a change. I think everyone has embraced it. I think that they've done a really good job, believe it or not, with a small school, Ted, with what they're doing NIL wise to try to help some of these guys, and the players are responding to it. I think everyone needs a little bit more structure in life. I know I sure as hell could use it, and he has provided that for everyone. And I can't wait to see, after we get like 2 years in, the level of talent with how much that he's just pushed the gas pedal down in terms of recruiting with kids here locally in Oklahoma that we know can play, that just never really got that much of a look. And Kevin knows that they can play. And then within, a tank of gas in Texas too. I think it's going to be really good, man. And they're exactly where they need to be in this conference with the type of schools that are in this conference for the school of their size. And there's no reason, in my opinion, that 2-3 years from now, why they shouldn't be at least included in the mix with the UTSAs of the world every single year for an American Conference championship, or in the mix, even trying to go to the championship game. That's how I feel that Kevin could potentially add to this.
Yeah. And I think he's gonna kind of magnify Tulsa's strengths as a city. It's a cool city.
Yeah.
It's a cool city. Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Just got to get the kids there, right?
He does. And this city has always been a walk-up city in terms of tickets. It's almost like you have to prove it to them multiple times for fans to start coming out a little bit more, and those fringe fans that we talked about. And once they start winning on a regular basis and having a level of consistency where they're not riding the roller coaster, I think they're going to be fine, because they can take almost what SMU has done in conference and kind of brand themselves Dallas's team. And that sounds cheesy, but it's worked for them. Like Sonny did that, and Rhett has continued that, and it's really helped build some momentum. And I think you can take bits and pieces of what SMU has done and kind of apply it here at Tulsa.
Interesting, man. We appreciate you. We'll see you on Saturday, dude.
Yeah, dude, I'm fired up to see you guys, man. Always enjoy seeing you guys in, and the environment should be a lot of fun, man.
Should be. All right. Appreciate you, dude.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
I like hearing the excitement from Pop about the Kevin Wilson era. He's an intense dude, man.
He is.
Intense.
I like
But
it.
I hope it works. I really do. I hope it works.
It's good to hear he's recruiting well. And, I think you heard Coach Venables mention his press conference, and I'm sure Kevin Wilson is focused on it too. I mean, there's some good local talent that they can capitalize on, and hopefully they do that, and we'll see where they can get the program going.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Sean Kingston before the game.
John Kingston. Oh, it's going to be great. Going to be fantastic. We're going to have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our college football week 3 previews. But first,
John Vance Auto Group has been serving Oklahomans for 40 years. They're family owned and operated, and they have 9 full service dealerships in Woodward, Miami, and Guthrie. No matter what your vehicle needs are, John Vance Auto Group has you covered. They carry domestic brands such as Ford, Lincoln, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Jeep, and Wagoneer. John Vance Auto Group's goal is to give unequaled service and to exceed customers' expectations in every way, which is why they have their lifetime loyalty program. And here's how it works. Buy a new or used car from them, then all you have to do is get all of the manufacturer recommended maintenance done at the Vance dealership. And if something goes wrong with the components of your engine, transmission, drive, axle, or transfer unit, they will cover the repair costs. It's a great deal. You can browse their entire inventory or find the John Vance dealership near you at vanceautogroup.com.
And attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at Insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
And don't forget to head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. The food is fantastic, and they've got great TV, so it's the perfect spot to watch any big game. I will actually be doing my radio show from the garage in Tulsa on Friday afternoon.
Whoa!
So to any fans headed to T-Town the afternoon or evening before the game, stop in and say hi. You don't forget, you can visit eatatthegarage.com to find the location near you and to order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
All right, week 3 in college football. Thin slate, Ted. It's a bit thin.
It is, which always means we're going to get an unbelievable round of games, right?
Chaos is coming. We just don't know where it's coming from. Let's start in Columbia, Missouri. Number 15, Kansas State, goes to Mizzou. This will be 11 a.m. on SEC Network. Kansas State currently a 5-point favorite, a suspiciously small line. Now, remember, Kansas State smacked Mizzou last year in Manhattan, just beat the absolute hell out of them. But it's certainly different going on the road. Kansas State is coming off a really nice win, though, against Troy, where they beat the hell out of Troy in the second half. And Missouri barely got by Middle Tennessee State.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the odds makers are thinking here, but it does feel like a lot's on the line for Eli Drinkwitz in this game. Losing to SEC teams is one thing. If Kansas State comes into your house and beats the hell out of you like they did last year, his hot seat, becomes scorching.
Yeah. And this is a big game. This is a battleground recruiting game.
Yeah.
Right?
These schools are not far apart.
Right. This is that Kansas City area. I mean, they're all trying to pluck the best talent out of there. And I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. That line is like, kitty, 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 kitty. I don't know what's going on, but it looks way too easy. Oh, Kansas State's going to kill Missouri. There's something there. I don't know what it is, but if I'm just thinking about it straight up, I feel like Kansas State and Will Howard, the way he's played early, should be able to handle this one, pretty convincingly, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. So this is, if you're looking to like, how can this line be this? K-State's offensive line, which there was a ton of talk about them coming into the season, right? It's been in flux a bit, right? The right tackle Duffy, he's been banged up. They've had to move some guys around, some guys they've plugged in, haven't played particularly well. Like Cooper Beebe's having to go all over the place. And I think that has resulted in them not running the ball very efficiently with Giddens and Ward. And when you look at Missouri, like maybe the strength of their entire football team is that D-line. Darius Robinson on the edge there, like he's a good player. He's an NFL player. So Missouri's been very solid along the defensive front for a little bit. And that K-State O-line's a little banged up and hasn't played up to the expectation. But Will Howard has been fantastic. He's been really good through 2 games. And when you look at this matchup, sometimes you just look at head coach and quarterback, right? And I don't think there's any doubt that Kansas State's got the better head coach in Chris Kleiman, and they got the better quarterback in Will Howard. Brady Cook he doesn't do it for me. Now, Luther Burden, that guy's a stud. That wideout for him. Yep. Stud. He's going to have to have a special day, in my opinion, for Missouri to be in this one. But there's something to be said about the desperation. Like the head coach needs a win. You're at home. It's going to be sold out. Place is going to be rocking. But I don't know, man. Like I think Kansas State's a much better football team than Missouri.
I do too. The line has got me a little skittish. The offensive line has got me a little skittish, but if a team Kansas State usually travels really well, right? With just kind of the overall philosophy of their team, typically travel really well. You know, it is an early kick. I think that is in K-State's favor. Anytime you're going on the road, you prefer that early kick before the crowd really gets too crazy. But I don't know. If I'm picking it, I would pick K-State handily.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now, what's the timeline on getting healthy on the O-line? Do you know, with the right tackle?
They're hoping to get him back this week, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and the whole thing was, hey, all 5 of these guys are coming back, like we're all good, and him going down has resulted in a lot of moving parts. So, but Will Howard's been really good. They've been really good. They're pushing it down the field more like I thought they would. So we'll see if that ends up being a big part of the game. Oh, did you see Eli Drinkwitz? Did you see his presser?
No.
He was talking about Chris Kleiman, and then he started talking about the offensive coordinator, right? Who's Colin Klein? Who anyone that's been in college football for a while, like, knows who Colin Klein is. He almost won the Heisman Trophy, right? He was like, yeah, their offensive coordinator. I think that he calls him CK. He does a good job. It was like, oh.
Does he really not know who he is?
That's how it made it seem, dude. Which you want to talk about the number one way to piss off K-State people? Tell them you don't know who Colin Klein is. The guy can't help himself.
He's the worst press conference head coach I've ever seen.
Oh, it's brutal, dude.
Brutal.
You don't need any of that. Like, now Colin Klein is looking at it going, okay, you're going to know my name after this game. That's for damn sure. Right. We're going to score 60.
Wow. God.
So I saw that and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and lay the points with the Wildcats. A little disrespect to Colin Klein. Okay.
That's a strategy.
Yeah. All right. Next game. Number 11, Tennessee, traveling to the Swamp. Tennessee currently a 6-point favorite. This game's 6 p.m. on ESPN. The spread certainly caught my attention, Ted.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think is it as simple as, we really haven't seen Tennessee play anyone good, right? People may not be sold on Joe Milton. And let's just be real. The Swamp is not an easy place to play, and this is a massive rivalry. So you think that's what the low number is all about? Because Florida certainly has not impressed up to this point. We all watched the Utah game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think anytime you get a game like this, there's so much uncertainty, and I think you get, if you keep it tight, you get a lot of action, one way or the other. I like Tennessee personally. I still haven't seen anything from Florida that makes me think that they've got some individual players here and there, but I don't think they're any good. Now, I guess I still don't know how good Tennessee is, but I feel like they're in a much better spot than Florida is, but you never know. I mean, this would be a game that could potentially save the early part of Florida's season, and that they'll be amped up, they'll be keyed up, and they've got to pull out all the stops for this one. I mean, it's been tough. It's a tough early schedule for Florida, but I mean, like, if you drop this game, and especially if you drop it convincingly, then it's going to be some angry people down there, I'm sure.
Yeah. Now, this was a close game in Knoxville last year, right? 38-33 win for the Vols in that one. And we know how good that Tennessee team was a year ago. This is, I think when you look at this game, which team can help their quarterback more, right? Which team can get the run game going? We saw Florida really struggle to run it against Utah with Johnson and ETN, right? Going up against that Vols defense. Can they get the run game going and help Graham Mertz out? Same thing for Tennessee. You and I know Heupel are going to want, he's going to want to pound the rock, right? And put Joe Milton in manageable situations, right? Lean on that run game with Jalen Wright and Jabari Small. Right? And those are two, I mean, there's some good running backs in this game. But for whatever reason, I see this going for one of two ways for Joe Milton. He's either going to absolutely light it up and take the soul out of Florida fans everywhere, right? And we're all going to be talking about how gifted he is and how dangerous Tennessee can be moving forward, or he's going to be the reason they lose the game. I think it's one of those, it on the spectrum, it's going to be one of the extremes. I don't think we're going to come on the podcast on Sunday and go, you know what? Joe Milton really managed the game well. I just don't foresee that. I think it's going to be one or the other. He was awful or he was fantastic.
I think that's a good way to put it. And it's probably for him mentally and for hype and how they're going to call the offense and what their identity is going to be. It's probably kind of a keystone game for all of that as well, right? If you can go on the road against a team like Florida and make good, smart decisions, make some big plays, have the confidence to let it fly whenever you have the opportunities, then that's going to build a lot of confidence in your offensive coordinator with how they're going to call stuff for you moving forward. You spit the bit, you tighten up, you can't dial in and hit the big plays. That's going to affect the way they call it moving forward as well. So I'm with you. It's either going to be the Tennessee's not any good because they don't have Hooker, or it's going to be Milton on Heisman watch type of game. I'm with you.
Exactly. That's what I see. Now, on the Florida side of things, if I was betting on the game, I'd lay the points with Tennessee. Because with what I've seen up to this point, Florida just looks disorganized. I don't trust them to do the little things that it takes to beat a good football team right now. I just don't. I don't trust them to limit penalties. I don't trust them to be, play at a high level on special teams, and win the hidden yardage battle. I don't trust Mertz to take care of the football. I don't trust it. It just feels disorganized, and I feel like Hype's got that stuff buttoned up at Tennessee. So we'll see. I'm excited to watch this game, but I don't really see it going well for Florida, but hey, you never know.
Elite uniform matchup, best of the weekend.
Florida's jerseys are awesome.
Tennessee's whites look good too.
Oh yeah. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be an aesthetically pleasing. Also, Florida, tremendously green grass. right?
Yeah. Fast track.
Fast track.
You know, it's interesting. We were talking about it. I think almost every team in the SEC has grass.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Why do you think
A&M,
that's?
LSU, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, Auburn, Georgia, all grass. I think there's a couple of them mixed in there. I don't know what Kentucky has and everything, but I like that.
I'm a fan as well. All right. Any other games this weekend that interest you? Right. Normally we try to pick 3. There are some teams that OU's about to play in action, right? Cincinnati, take care of business against Miami, Ohio, so that game's got a lot of hype, please. You guys have been fantastic up to this point. Please take care of business. Thank you.
I'm curious to see BYU and Arkansas. I haven't seen much from BYU. I know Arkansas's got their quarterback. He's back healthy, ready to roll. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out like where exactly everyone, like the new teams in the Big 12 are. Cincinnati, we got a good idea with them. BYU, I think that game's got some interest there. The West Virginia game's got some interest, but it's kind of a slow week. We don't know where the hidden gems are going to be.
Yeah, I'm hoping for our guy Neil Brown. He needs that game, man.
I know.
He needs it. They got to win the backyard brawl. They got to beat Pitt. He needs that game desperately, right? Especially with it being in Morgantown. Got to win that one.
Tough opening part of the season for them, man.
Yeah. And I am, you look at some of these betting lines, like Oklahoma State is a 7-point favorite at home against South Alabama. That's one where you look at it and go, really? And South Alabama is not a bad football team, right? They got some talent. But I guess the odds makers, they weren't impressed with what the Pokes did in Tempe, and they're not they don't have faith in the 3-headed monster at QB for the Cowboys.
I guess not. I mean, it's kind of hard to, that game against Arizona State, at times they looked like very, very pedestrian. And then other times, like in the second half, they looked really good. So what are you going to get from them? Who knows?
Yeah. It's a confusing football team. I'm with you on BYU at Arkansas. I think it'll kind of just tell us where Kalani Sitake's program is at right now. Now, Arkansas is not some juggernaut of an SEC team right now. They're not. So maybe that one's interesting. And then there is the hilarious option. Wyoming, Texas, in Austin. You and I, we showered them with praise, and they deserved it, right? They absolutely deserved it with what they did last week down in Tuscaloosa. But it'd be kind of hilarious if Wyoming gave Texas a game, right?
Yeah, this is part of the thing with Sarkisian, there's been moments before where Texas has flashed for 1 or 2 games, but traditionally, at least over the last decade, they have not handled success well at all. So curious to see how they show up. I mean, this one, I feel like Texas is going to be okay in this one. That Kansas game, though, is going to be a different animal. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. Jayhawks look good against Illinois.
I think they're going to be undefeated.
They had like 6 sacks and 9 TFLs against Illinois.
Yeah. I think so. They've got like someone random this week, and then who's their first Big 12 game? Because I think they're going to win. Maybe it's BYU? Is it BYU?
Kansas is on the road at Nevada. Nevada? How do you say that? Nevada?
I say Nevada.
I think I say Nevada too. They're on the road at Nevada this week, and then BYU comes to town next weekend.
I think they're going to be undefeated before they play Texas.
I agree. And I hope they wear those black
25.
uniforms against Texas. Those things are sweet.
Yeah.
I was shocked that their defensive line did what they did against Illinois. Impressive stuff. Watch
You
out
know
for the
what
Jayhawks.
Yeah, and you know what you're going to get on offense, quarterback, running back. I mean, they're going to make some plays.
Yeah. All right. Let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. But first, do you have difficulty sitting for long periods of time or can't lay on your side due to pain? Well, it's a hip thing, and the only person to go see is Dr. Brandon Johnson at the Hip Clinic in Oklahoma City. No matter your age, the Hip Clinic has the experience and knowledge to help ease your hip pain and preserve your hip joint. Don't let the pain hold you back any longer. Don't just accept a hip replacement. Call the Hip Clinic today at 844-KEEP-HIP or visit thehipclinicokc.com.
Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School represents a tradition of educational excellence in Oklahoma City. Grounded in a faith-based education, Bishop McGinnis offers a college prep curriculum that includes 22 AP courses, participation in OSSAA athletics, and numerous clubs and organizations for students to join and grow. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available.
As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
I've got a special edition, an Aaron Rodgers edition, so I'm doing loser first.
Okay.
Loser, the NFL, the Jets, the fans, the Packers, Aaron Rodgers himself, Zach Wilson, even Dalvin Cook, who came in, fantasy owners, or everyone loses from this injury. I hate it for everyone. It's totally brutal. I knew it as soon as I saw it that he tore his Achilles like that. It was so frustrating to watch. That stadium was so amped up. The entrance, the 9/11, the flags coming out. 3 plays, man. Can you remember anything like that? With that spotlight, a moment like that, the anticipation, and 3 plays in, it's done.
No, like that quickly, that magnitude. That's Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the best quarterbacks ever. Right? That Jets defense, like it's clear. I don't know if they would have gone to the Super Bowl, but that defense is legit. And they had a guy, man. We talked about they had a guy at quarterback finally, and it's gone like that. Their season's over, and they'll win some games because of that defense, okay?
Yeah.
But every guy in that locker room, to his core, knows that the season's over. Zach Wilson's not going to take them to anything. Like, I mean, let's be real. And for they
had 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions for sure.
Yeah. And then the fumble.
And barely won the football game.
On a punt return in overtime, which, by the way, what is Surratt doing? You cannot cut on punt return. What is he doing?
I don't know. I think, did he stumble?
And no, he laid out like it. I couldn't believe they didn't call it. Now, I'm glad they didn't call it because what an electric moment for Xavier Gibson. And it was awesome to watch on television. And an awesome call by Joe Buck, by the way.
Yeah.
But that defense did all that, and they could barely get by, right, with Zach Wilson. That interception, the disgust in Troy Aikman's voice, just, did you see any of the Manning cast stuff? Peyton Manning talking about Zach Wilson?
No, I just saw the highlight of them reacting to Aaron Rodgers.
They basically...
Troy Aikman, I guess I understand what he was saying. Why, whenever they were playing for the field goal and being conservative, like that's who they have to be in that moment to win the game. They have to rely on their defense. That's just, you cannot allow Zach Wilson to lose the game for you. Like they're trying to avoid that situation.
But it changes, looking at the injury and what it means for the Jets. It changes the way that every single guy on that team every single coach on that team. It changes the way they feel when they walk into the building every day.
100%.
And that is a lot to deal with.
From going from no matter what happens, we have a chance. No matter what, our quarterback is going to give us a chance every single week to, oh my God. And, I had Zach Wilson, I listed him because I think having Aaron Rodgers there was going to be like to have this year to watch and learn and absorb. I thought that was going to be maybe the best thing for his career. Now, I think it's still going to be good. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is still going to be around the facility and stuff, rehabbing and in the film room with him. So that's going to help, but it's not going to be the same. And I think he would have came out of this season as a much better quarterback, but now he's going to be thrust right back in there. And he's probably, there hasn't been enough time to forget like your problem habits and what you need to relearn. Like he's probably like the mindset's probably going to go right back to what's always worked for me, So.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to go well for him.
No.
I don't think he's any good. Now, you mentioned the Packers are a loser, right? They needed Rodgers to play 70% of snaps to get that first round pick from the trade. Clearly that's not happening. You missed a couple though. I got a couple to add to the list. Did you see those people at that bar in Milwaukee?
Yeah. Yeah.
Free drinks if the Jets lose. They were racking up the tab, man. Oh, the look on some of those guys' faces as they're looking at their tabs in the back of that news shot is amazing.
Now, I haven't seen this and I didn't get clarification. Now, this was a season-long thing. Now, it was tied to the Jets. Does Aaron Rodgers have to play?
I would assume that's part of it, is that Aaron Rodgers has to play.
Okay.
I would assume, and I think everyone will understand, like, hey, I don't think anyone's going to come at the bar for that. Like, hey, you said that's, come on, guys.
Right. Yeah. Well, for a one night, they had to have been sweating it, but it turned out great for them. Turned out great.
Yeah. The bar was definitely a winner. Now, last loser, did you see Mahomes' tweet? Punctuation's important, children. Come on, kids, learn punctuation. If you didn't see it, when Aaron Rodgers went down, Patrick Mahomes tweeted, "Hate that man, praying for the best." He then edited it to "Hate that, comma, man, praying for the best," and ended up adding, "Knew I was going to need that edit button on here one of these days." Dude, that was a hilarious sequence of events.
Yeah, that's tough. And I don't know, and maybe something's changed, but I still haven't seen anything or heard from Aaron Rodgers at all. And I'm sure he's taken some time to wrap his head around this thing. That's a tough injury. It's a long recovery. It's a hard surgery. I mean, you get to a certain age and that becomes a real problem for athletes, is the Achilles tendon. And I know he doesn't want to go out like that, but I mean, that's a big commitment. It felt like this was going to be his last year, right? No matter what. It's just kind of the feeling it had. And I don't know. It's a big commitment for him to do the whole thing over again, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and he was a guy that has been pretty open about talking about retirement before this season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. But you're right.
Everyone loses.
So everyone loses in this thing.
I watched all of the Hard Knocks. I haven't watched all the Hard Knocks in forever. I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan. I love the way he plays. I was never been a Jets fan, but I was going to be one this year. And I think a lot of people were. So nobody wins.
Yeah. All right. Well, then you started with your loser. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
I guess there is one possible winner out of this. And you saw Bakhtiari, the tweet coming at the NFL over the turf and grass issue. Now, the NFLPA has been kind of battling with NFL over the turf situation. The NFLPA had, a bunch of studies that showed that there's a really large increase in injuries, and they can tie some of the injuries that have gone up in recent years to the turf. And naturally, the NFL produces their own study that shows there's absolutely no correlation. Probably the same person that did their old concussion study. But, I believe that my injury came from turf, from playing on turf. And it's not just playing games on turf. It's also practicing on turf every single day. I think it's really, really hard on the body, hard on the legs. I had a Liz Frank injury in my foot, and that was in 2005. And at that time, it was super rare, and it was just starting to become a thing. And now it's like, it's a common injury. And to me, you have to go back to turf for that. So my hope is that there's going to be enough pressure to where, think about it. If you're Woody Johnson, owner of the Jets, I know the turf makes it way easier, right? It's cheaper in the long run. It probably makes, the stadium much more, usable for the city and all of that stuff. But think about that investment that you made in Aaron Rodgers. That's maintenance on your turf field for a long time, or your grass field rather, for a long time. So I think it's something that the NFL and the owners need to really look at. And you saw all of the stuff that, they have contracts to switch out the grass or the turf for grass to play soccer events. And they'll switch out the turf, put grass in, play soccer, and then return it to turf to play football. I think it's dumb. I hope the NFL takes a much harder look at it.
I'm with you. I don't really see any reason why all 32 fields in the NFL aren't grass. Now, I know that, like Minnesota, for example, right? It's an indoor stadium, but we've seen plenty of teams wheel out grass, right? Grow it outside, wheel it in for the game.
Did you see the stadium? I don't know what soccer stadium is, where it drops down below the stadium and they grow it under the lights. It's incredible.
Yeah. Just do that everywhere. It's the NFL. You're bringing in just an unbelievable amount of money, right? And this is the thing. The NFL has done so many things to try to keep their star players healthy, right? You think all about the quarterback rules.
The entire rule book for it.
Yeah. What they've done, right? Brady got his knee blown out. What they've done since then to try to keep star quarterbacks on the field. What they've done with the rules, with wide receivers going over the middle. Everyone knows how marketable big-time wide receivers are. Like what they've done with changing those rules.
You're paying quarterbacks $50 million a year now. Wide receivers close to $30 million a year now. Take the money that you find defensive players for touching quarterbacks and install grass fields everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm hoping they get there. Cause I'll say that, you and I both played in Detroit, right? We both played in Buffalo. I played in New Orleans, right? You think those are all your game field is turf. Where did we practice?
Turf.
We always went out and practiced on grass.
Oh, you did? Well, New Orleans. Yeah.
It was like, the only reason you were practicing on turf was like, there's a thunderstorm outside and there's lightning and we can't go on grass.
Yeah.
Like guys would push and push and push like, hey, no. We don't want to go in the indoor. It's cold. We don't care. We want to practice on grass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because like you said, like the mileage that comes from practicing on turf every single day. Like all the places I played where you played your games on a turf field, all the guys in the locker room wanted to practice on grass as much as we could. Didn't care if it was super hot, cold, rainy. No. Let's go on the grass. I always thought it was very interesting.
I agree. It's weird. I don't know. I think it has to be more about stadium usage outside of football than it does anything else, right? I mean,
Yeah, like concerts and stuff like that.
yeah.
Other sports,
But again, you're paying your quarterbacks $50 million a year.
it's the NFL. Get some grass.
Right. If it saves you a star a year from having some type of catastrophic injury, it pays for itself for, like, if it's just one player, it pays for itself for years.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. All right, let's get to my winner and loser of the week. But first,
Elevate your tailgate with Chapel Supply and Equipment in Oklahoma City. Chapel Supply and Equipment has generators and inverters on hand that'll give you all the power you need so you can take your tailgate to the next level. They've also got top-of-the-line heaters to keep you warm during those cold tailgates later in the season. They're Oklahoma owned and operated. Elevate your tailgate by calling 405-495-1722 or visit chapelsupply.com. That's CHAPPELL supply.com.
And First Fidelity Bank is a full-service financial institution based in Oklahoma with tailored solutions for all your personal and business needs. Checking accounts, saving accounts, home loans, and much more. They do it all. Whether it's online banking from your computer or mobile banking from your phone, everything is stress-free with FFB. Making mobile deposits, paying bills online, and moving money to different accounts could not be easier. Come on, people, make your life easier and go bank with First Fidelity Bank. Visit ffb.com for more information.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com. Use promo code TED, TED for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
All right, for my winner of the week, thought about going with the Kansas City Chiefs, got a deal done with Chris Jones. All right, now, unfortunately for him, it's not really an extension. Right? There are no more years added to the deal. It's just, hey, you've got some incentives you can hit this season to increase the value of the deal. But Chiefs get their best player on defense back on the field, right? They're about to go on the road against the Jags. Getting your best player on defense back on the field, that is a good thing. So, yeah, we'll see if he ends up hitting all those incentives and what that can take him to, right? He's supposed to make nearly $20 million this year. But, hey, I don't think there's any panic for the Chiefs, but you don't want to start 0-2, and a good way to not start 0-2 is to have your best defensive player on the field, Ted.
That's right. Yeah, he's a stud. He changes the line of scrimmage for them big time. So that's something that if they want to make a run, you have to have him. I mean, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But my winner of the week, NBA fans, OKC Thunder fans, let's go. Two things. Number one, according to Shams, NBA Board of Governors going to vote this week on a policy that will prevent teams from resting two star players in the same game. Stars are defined as guys that have been either an all-star or all-NBA in the last 3 seasons. And I guess the NBA also said teams, they must have their star players, if healthy, available for national TV games. And that teams, if they're going to try to rest guys, right, they need to balance resting their star players equally for home and road games. So they would actually prefer to have them rest during home games. So, first of all, take that load management, but it does seem like this will make more star players play more often, which is good for NBA fans. I'm all for it.
It's good. Think about how ridiculous it is that we're at this point, though, right? You've got to legislate that you can't sit out stars. It's so dumb. And I wonder, I mean, if you've got a jammed pinky and you're on the injury list, like, are they going to start having phantom injuries if they want to rest guys?
There's no doubt there's going to be some tomfoolery going on, but
it's good though.
At least they're trying, right?
Yes, 100%. Yep.
So at least they're trying, and for Thunder fans, if the NBA is going to try to emphasize star players for other teams resting during their home games instead of their road games, well, then maybe you see more of the star players, right, for other teams playing against the Thunder, which these last couple of years, we've seen a lot of star players for the opponent sit out. Now, the Thunder are about to be good, so it's going to be different.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. And then the big thing, Ted, Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt announced that a plan has been finalized to build a new arena in downtown Oklahoma City that should be ready for the 2029-2030 NBA season. Notes that it will keep the Thunder in Oklahoma City beyond 2050. The vote will be conducted for OKC voters on December 12th, and I'm so excited. This is huge news. Let's go.
Yep, that's big time. I know there's people frustrated about it, but I mean, you have to think about all of the things that the Thunder have done for the downtown Oklahoma, just Oklahoma City in general, the entire area, really ignited the renaissance of downtown OKC. And I know people can be frustrated. Why do we need a new arena? You have to have it. I mean, the longer you push it, the worse it's going to be, the more expensive it's going to be. You can do it now and get yourself aligned with the bigger arenas out there, because they're already, like, there's some things about it, and I don't know exactly what they are. I just know that there's a round of like concerts and things that Oklahoma City doesn't qualify for because of whatever the layout of their arena is. So they can fix that. They'll be able to bring more entertainment in, and you just flat out have to have it. There's no way around it. I mean, it's just kind of the unfortunate way that things have moved in the NBA.
Yeah, I'm expecting it to pass in an overwhelming fashion. I'm fired up. I think it's going to be awesome for Oklahoma City. The economic impact is going to be so significant, and we have this team because another city didn't pony up and do it. We can never forget that. Right. And with some of these cities around the country that don't have NBA teams that desperately want them, it's important we keep doing what we got to do to keep this team, because I do think I've had this conversation with a lot of people. It's like, I don't think there would be anything more detrimental to Oklahoma City and its future than losing that team.
Oh yeah.
And just how it would look, and what the negative impact it would have on the community. I think it would be, I don't want to use the word catastrophic, but it'd be awful. So let's not do that. Let's vote yes. Let's go.
It's kind of a big deal to have, however many thousands of people downtown for, 50 plus nights a year. I mean, that's a big deal, man. That's a big deal economically. The amount of money that brings into the city is massive. And I don't know if this is part of it, but you can't even be in the conversation for an NHL team right now with the current arena.
No.
So I know people have thrown that out there, and I don't know if that's something that they're thinking about, but I mean, with the new arena, you can at least build it to where you could address that in the future if it came up.
There are a lot of things that become possible with this new arena. Bottom line. So we'll see. But I'm excited, and I'm expecting an overwhelming yes vote on that entire.
Where it's going to be? Are they going to play in the Cox or something while they're building it?
No, they're going to. I do not know. Right, and it hasn't been announced. My guess is they'll knock the Cox Convention Center down, right, and then play in Paycom until it's ready to go.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah. And I know they're about to start I don't know if they're about to start it, but I think they've decided that soccer stadium's going downtown too.
Yeah. So we'll see. A lot happening in downtown Oklahoma City.
Awesome.
All right. For my loser of the weekend, the week, loser of the week, thought about going with Michigan State. That whole situation is getting complicated, right? Mel Tucker fired back with a hell of a rebuttal to his suspension. I mean, he essentially said, hey, this stuff was mutual between consenting adults, and said there were a lot more phone calls than that one. And then essentially said, hey, Michigan State is just doing this to get out of his contract. He just put it out there like that. And then we find out that Michigan State's leadership has had the results of the initial investigation of this whole thing since late July. You talked about no winners in the situation for Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't seem like there's any winners in this situation either. This is ugly.
Yeah, that has the classic, well, let's see how we look this season before we talk about the
with what happened with Larry Nassar there. It's such a bad look for Michigan State, man.
So
they look terrible. Now Mel Tucker,
no matter what the result is, they look terrible.
Yeah.
Like if they're trying to railroad their coach, they look terrible. If they knew the results and they were at least appear to be covering it up, they look terrible. They've backed themselves into a no-win situation.
Now, even though Mel Tucker said, hey, it was, consensual, all that stuff, like what he did is still very dumb, right? And still can cost him his job. But this whole thing, it seems like the winner, I guess the winners are going to be the lawyers, right? A lot of billable hours ahead in this thing.
No kidding. And I think there's no way they keep him.
No chance. He's coached his last game at Michigan State. There's no coming back from this.
He's gone. It's just whether or not they have to pay him.
Yeah. Which
hefty amount.
A legal battle is looming. There's no doubt about that. All right, but my loser of the week, the NFL kickoff return. Some numbers are in, Ted. Now, it's been dying, and it feels closer to being completely dead than ever. Reminder, the league made a new rule this season, right? An experimental rule. Touchbacks now give you the ball to 25. And if you try to kick it short on purpose, if you're the kickoff team, a kick returner can fair catch a kickoff between the goal line and the 25, and the return team gets the ball to 25. They basically said, hey, you probably shouldn't try to return this. And if you're the kicking team, like, don't try any funny business. The ball's going to the 25, guys. Good. So what happened in week 1 in the NFL? The return rate was the lowest in an NFL week since 2000. 20.5% of kickoffs were returned. Ted, we're all well aware of the discussion when it comes to collisions on kickoffs and head injuries and all that stuff. You were a special team ace, man. This has to bring you some pain to see basically the kickoff and kickoff return. It's essentially, it's not completely out of the game, but it is being phased out in a big way.
Yeah. Well, again, I played in the wrong era. I played whenever you had to run down and run into the wall of backup offensive and defensive linemen, right? As fast as you can, try and find a gap and try and not get knocked out. They eliminate, you can't do that anymore. You just can't. It's like, how can you justify the fact that you're about player safety? We just had the conversation about the grass versus turf deal, right? Like that's a way better way to eliminate injury than the kickoff situation. I think they need, like, this is stupid. They need to get rid of this. You do not want touchbacks. The change of possession in football has to be a meaningful play. If it's a formality and you're kicking it for a formality and it's going to be touchback and you're going to go to commercial again, it's worthless. Nobody wants that. It needs to be something that is very important anytime there's a change of possession. And I like what the XFL does with their kickoff. I mean, it's safe, it's easy, it's exciting. It's essentially just like a really big zone play is what it is. And it's good to create some opportunity there. I think they should do that. I think college should change their punt rules. They're trying to get rid of it. They shouldn't be trying to get rid of it. Like, if you're about like points and excitement and scoring, special teams create some of the most exciting plays. Look at the play that ended the Monday Night Football game. Why would you ever want to regulate something like that out of a game? That's stupid to me. I just don't understand it.
I like the XFL kickoff. I just don't know with the way that it looks like the NFL will ever do it. Because it looks weird,
It's weird.
It's fun. It creates more excitement, but it looks a little weird. And I don't know, how meticulous the NFL is about the optics of its product. They may just go, no, looks too weird. We're just going to keep having these kickers kick it from the 35 and boot it through the end zone. Because it looks cool. It photographs well. Everyone's lined up. There's people all over the field. It looks cool,
There's like a whole the kickoff but it's so stupid. It's just an opportunity for another timeout. That's what I hate about it. Because if they return it and you come out, like if it's a touchback, no one cares about the timeout. It's just like there was no action, nothing happened. We go to a timeout. There's no real loss in flow. But if guys start returning it every time, and then you have to go to a commercial, that changes the commercial flow, and it eliminates the flow of the game. I mean, that's why they've done it, right? I mean, because they want the commercial opportunity.
Commercial opportunities, but they've done it under the guise of player safety, right?
Yeah. Let's get one thing clear. The NFL does not give a shit about player safety at all. Never have.
Yeah. On that note, episode 353 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. Obviously, we will be recapping the OU and Tulsa matchup. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 3 to 6 on the ref. You can hear me from 2 to 5 on SiriusXM Big 12 Radio, channel 375. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the games on Saturday. And until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.